How you eat a kiwi fruit on a Sunday afternoon while lying in bed on your left side. Pick up the plump, fuzzy, brown-skinned fruit with both hands. Tear it in half. Pick the piece in your right hand. Bite into that tart, juicy green meat, pale core, and black seeds. Rake your teeth across its inner peel until the meat is cleaned. The leftover slips of skin will wilt over your fingertips like flower petals. Don't toss out this strange bouquet. Look around. Your room is a terrain of wood plank valleys and swollen sacks of unlaundered clothing that you haven't touched since you moved in on Monday. It's Sunday. The day your God took a break. You are the God of this universe. Lie in your laziness. That trash can is light years away. Hey. The dip between your left forearm and bicep looks like a crypt. Pull out the lifeless peel in his grave. Feel the cool kiss of it suited in your spit. Petal by petal by petal by petal. Force his thin wet corpse to bloom. If someone else were here, this would be weird. But you're alone in your room with no one to pass judgment. Besides, you couldn't move. There were no other options. Remember, you are a poet. And no matter how delicious the words they dice together, poets do weird shit. You should write a poem about this. Think of a metaphor. The kiwi fruit is lush, indigenous land, and your teeth are an intolerant, dominant white force, addicted to gutting its riches. Pummel the Pummel the injustice with punchlines. Add a self-empowering ending. Think of performing it at a poetry slam. Imagine the oohs and ah. Think of a better metaphor. Your mouth is a poetry slam. The gaps between your teeth are doors. The roof of your mouth is on the inside, so call it the ceiling of your mouth. Your tongue is the floor. Your taste bud is the audience. Your kiwi fruit is a fuzzy brown-skinned poet. Spitting a succulent poem. Imagine the oohs and ah. Don't forget the half in your left hand. Devour that fucking kiwi. Nom, nom, nom. Feel the smooth flesh of it gush out the fuzzy skin. Lick the streams of green bleeding from your fingertips. Your bed was the stage. Your room was the audience. The fruit was sacrificial poetry in which your teeth slammed. You killed it. Listen to your stomach. Ooh and ah. You murdered it. But leave no proof for the judges. Stay in bed. Say, fuck it. Eat the skin too. You can write a poem about anything. I am an advocate for that phrase because I've written poems about everything. Poets will talk about the ups, the downs, the smiles and frowns. There's an underlying story of triumph that I feel like is something that I see consistently, unpacking the inner oppression for artistic expression.
Spoken word kept me alive. I was super depressed as a kid. There were a number of suicide attempts before I even got into high school, and I really gravitated towards poetry because it was a way for me to release all these emotions that I had inside, and I fell in love with it. It was a better option than picking up pills or picking up a razor. It was a healthier option, and I think for a lot of artists, that's what they use the writing for. You get the poems about suicide, and you get the poems about injustice, and I think it's a space for all of it. It's a medium to release. It's a way to tell people your story because it needs to be told. Inspired by Robin Williams and all the comedians who gave us life and laughter while dying inside. When the depression does the comedy. I make jokes about death more often than I should. I laugh, I kid, I have to. You have to find a way to chuckle when you've stacked your body weight in suicide attempts. When all the verbs sound like kill, you're scared to talk, and it sounds crazy, right? But you laugh. I mean, fuck crying. I mean, crying is so 5 overdoses ago. I mean, morbid humor, that's the new black, and it's much more vibrant than my last depression. What I mean to say is, sad people just make people sad. So instead, let me tell you this hilarious passive-aggressive cry for help. I got a joke. You ready? What do you get when you mix 13 painkillers and a noose? Rope burn and a good night's sleep.
When I do a poem, I feel like it's the first time I have a voice, because I feel like as a queer woman of color, as a person who suffers from bipolar disorder, like all of these different things, like sometimes I feel like I don't have a voice. So the ability to have a voice, the ability to speak about the things I want to speak about, like I get 3 minutes and everyone just has to shut up. The poem was like maybe 2 pages. He took out most of it and there was just 1 line.
For me, I think what ends up happening is I like to start with the heartbeat. Like what's really driving this poem? And then we got the story.
Out of all the poems I've ever written, I always come back to Life Vest. It's like, I'm about to get really emotional, I don't know. I really want to thank you, because I would have never been able to write that poem without you. And I've done that poem for so many other people, and they've come up to me and they're like, I didn't even know what sexual coercion was. I've gone through this. So it's like, for me to like take this poem that wasn't, what it could be, and then to make it something of what it is now, and to be able to share that with other people who are survivors, it's just really great. The bedsheet speaks. Well, here he goes again, bringing another girl into his room. He could have at least cleaned me up a bit, but college boys aren't fond of doing laundry. I smell margaritas on her. They both have voyages in their eyes, but not the same destination. She says, I don't want to go all the way. I can feel her reluctance. I try to be soft for her like sand on the beach, but to her I am rocks on the bottom of the ocean. She was a ship, in a sea that never expected this iceberg. They crashed into one another. And again, I'm threaded into the irony, the bed sheets, watching another woman unravel. He tucks, I've had a long week. She tugs, but I don't want to. He pulls, come on. She grips, no. He bends, please. She folds. Fine. We both lay spread across the mattress. Me, a taut cloth. Her, a limp body. There are clothes and regrets scattered all over me. I want to be her life vest, but I can't find a way to wrap myself around her and float her back to shore. She's sinking further into me. He smiles. He doesn't care about her shipwrecked body. He is an anchor in a bottomless sea. I don't want to be the ocean she drowns in. I want to be the sails that take her to a place beyond these 4 walls, a clear landing, where she is more than just hands digging into my skin for relief. Minutes go by that feel like hours. He gets up to admire this castaway and says, at least it was fast. It is 6 months later. I am still drenched in the margaritas, the sea salt sweat, the shame of that night. College boys aren't fond of doing laundry. Slam poetry gives you life and keeps you alive.
People write so that they can actually gain power over the things that may have made them feel powerless.
It's definitely, more in your face. It's definitely more like emotional. It's monologuing. It's people bringing their emotions to a stage.
Poetry is basically my savior, and if anyone is looking for something to be saved in, I think slam poetry is a good start.